Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome into another episode of the BeBall Jones podcast, and of course, I am your man, BeBall Jones. As you can see, I'm rolling solo right here, so you pretty sure you know what that means. That I have another interview, I have another guest coming on, and I'm excited about this one. This is an interesting one for me, man. This gentleman is, of course, around the game of basketball. He is a coach slash performance trainer. It's been fun chopping it up with him, man, and a good conversation that we had. I had to get him on the podcast. It's always fun to get other people's perspective, of course. So I like to do introductions, but I can't do an introduction better than that. Than they can introduce themselves. So I'm gonna bring to the stage now, finally, Josh Washington. What's up, bro?
What's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm lovely, man. What about you?
I'm good, man. Appreciate it. Appreciate you taking the time having me on.
No, I'm glad. I'm thankful that you hop on the podcast, man. So it means a lot.
No, of course, man. Anytime.
So like I said, man, I can kind of give you introduction, but I'd rather have you introduce yourself to the people, man. So tell the people about yourself, what you got going on, and we get into it.
Okay, definitely. Well, Josh Washington. That's my name. Currently, I've been around the game of basketball. I'll explain that, but currently, what I'm doing is working with Performance Hoops. It's the company I'm trying to get off the ground. I've been around pros, been around the college game for quite some time, and I think not that it's negative, but I think for me, especially having a little girl now, I kind of want to go my own route and basically just give back to the game in that sense. Growing up playing basketball, we hear the stigma, basketball players don't lift or anything like that. And then
Hmm.
most people have injuries, or, a lot of coaches like me, they had injuries. They found the benefit of like training, preparing yourself and your body. And then that's their way of giving back. They get back into coaching. So that's essentially
Yep.
what I'm doing now, Performance Hoops. I'm really just trying to be one of the guys who bridge that gap between performance training and working out in the weight room, and then also the skill work on the court, bridging that gap in between, so you can see how it really translates to improving your game and thus your performance on the court. So, yeah, that's kind of my intro right now.
So you a little bit of both. You do skills and performance.
Yes, if I had to put a percentage on it, mainly performance. So percentage, I'd say 70-30.
Hmm.
So just I want people to understand that. Now, with that being said, I can go on the court and do something with the rock too. So like I'm not I'm not just in the weight room, but my athletes, clients I work with, I want them to know I'm not just out here saying this. Like I can grab the rock and do the same thing. So or at least try to. But I'm all right. But yeah, that's for me.
You got a little note. I understand. I feel you, man. Like I try to,
Yeah.
get in with my players to let them know, like I'm not just trainer and coach. I still got a little hooper in me still. Like I don't
Oh yeah.
hoop like I used to, but I got enough to beat y'all. That's all that matters. I can beat my
Right.
players. That's all I care about.
Yeah. Facts.
So what's your clientele, man? What's the range of players that you're working with?
For me, and honestly, my background, like, so as far as like players, I've worked all the way down to 7 years old throughout my
Oof.
history, but all the way up into, I mean, I've worked in the general population personal training gym setting. So some of my clients, they're in their 50s, but primarily, like, mainly, um, all athletes, but specifically basketball athletes, and then age. I mean, we're looking from middle school up until pro, elite level. So anywhere in there, but mainly right now it's high school, couple pro guys, and honestly, it's guys who are. If I wasn't in coaching, they're similar to me in that they played high school, they play college ball at some point, and they still want to get back into playing basketball, but they
Mm.
realize they can't be in the gym working out like a bodybuilder, right? Because you trying to play basketball, like your training is to kind of mimic that. So, um, I mean, here I am, helping those guys out. So, I mean, that would be like my clientele. Uh, yeah, mainly athletes, but basketball, I mean, that's my preference. So, but I mean, this with training for sport. I mean, for across all sports, like it's going to look similar. So basketball isn't like
Yeah.
this whole like specific training compared to other sports. It's just, uh, I'm just familiar with like I'm familiar with the sport and understand what's
Hmm.
needed. So that's my expertise.
That's actually very interesting because I was actually thinking of like to create something for that demographic too, because most programs that you have is usually, you know, specifically for athletes that are like kind of pro level, but like actually training to be in sport. It's not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily for the weekend hoopers, basically, like the guys who used to play a little bit and trying to get back into it, whatever. So, what made
Yeah.
you want to, target that area?
Um, I think for me, if I was gonna, because a lot of the guys, if I wanted to train elite level athletes, more often than not, it has to be in a team setting. So for me to kind of go my own route and to go the entrepreneur route, I got to look at like, okay, what's needed of me. Like if it's going to be athletes in that demographic, it's probably not going to be the elite ones they're already catered for with their teams. So it would be the recreational guys, the guys who play open gym every here and there, or the guys who play frequently, but they always have those nagging injuries. I'm
Mm-hmm.
the perfect guy to go to, like, to help with the training and things like that. Um, so it kind of just worked out on me, just like thinking, okay, like, how can I fill this void or what's needed? And then, I mean, honestly, just kind of fell into it now that I think about it, but it made sense. And a lot of times, like the guys who do reach out, via Instagram or what have you, they say like, "Hey, man, like I've been doing your stuff. Like I appreciate it." Telling me like they play rec league or what I'm talking about now. They play once a few, at least they play frequently enough that they couldn't go to the gym and do that bodybuilding style of training. Right when they go in, they do only upper body and
Yeah.
they don't even do legs because they're on the court. But they wonder why their knees and their ankles, they wonder why the lower body's hurting. It's like, well, you don't train it, so I
Yeah.
mean, that's, what I'm saying. So really that void and then just trying to fill that area. And then again, like me, so technically I'm not an elite level athlete myself. I played Division 3 basketball, but right now, like I'm more on the recreational side. So the training I'm doing is very similar to what I would prescribe someone else. We're doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but, and then for me, so doing it that way, I've always been a component or a fan of, if I'm gonna have somebody do the training, like I have to do it myself. So it's
Mm-hmm.
perfect, like explaining to them or having a conversation with them. It's like, hey, I'm doing the exact same thing. I know what you're feeling.
Yeah.
I had 2 knee surgeries growing up. That was part of the reason why I got into training. So I mean, I'm right there with them. And it's not, like I said, it's not somebody just saying, hey, here's a program, here's what you do, let me know how
Mm-hmm.
it is. Like, no, I'm right there with you. So
Yeah.
again, I'm just using that to my advantage. But then I think for me and my clients, like they also realize I'm relatable. So
Mm-hmm.
whether it be me working with like the college basketball athlete or the recreational guy, like I'm in their shoes, but the college athlete is like, hey, I was in school once and D3 level, but I know what it was like to juggle school and juggle sport, you know what I'm saying, and having to do both. So yeah, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that, man. But so now for the college athlete, how much different is that program and workout versus what you do for yourself and the rec hoopers?
Okay. Well, I'd say overall, like the volume and the total workload for the college athlete will be a lot more than myself, but you have to think of why. And I mean, we can get into that. So with the college athlete, they play on average maybe 40 games in a season, and it's
Mm-hmm.
condensed. I mean, they most of them they take a break, they come back in August, and then they pick back up with training. But then I think right around September or so, or October, excuse me, they get into
Mm-hmm.
practice, right? And that
Yeah.
means you're going from 4 maybe 5 days a week in the off season until now you get back to school, you 5 days a week, and then once October hits, like once you guys can start practicing 7 days a week. I mean, excuse me, 6 days a week. That Sundays are off days, excuse me, but you're going 6 days a week. So with their training, like you kind of have to match that. And typically in the college setting, off season, preseason, you're probably training 4 times a week. Some guys may be special cases where they get in extra work, whether they want to, whether they need to. And then once you get into in-season training, as far as like the days, it'll drop down to 3, especially
Mm-hmm.
more so for those high minute guys. But again, you're trying to equate the total volume load. So as far as like the exercises, some are very similar from a college athlete to what I would do myself. And I'll give you an example here. Like if I have a college athlete doing a trap bar jump, and honestly, the exercise, as far as like teaching it and actually executing it, I think it's very remedial. It's not hard. You grab a trap bar, and even when I coach it and explain, it's like, yo, load up and jump as high as you
Yeah.
can, be explosive, right? So if I could explain that to them, like I'm not going to handicap myself or somebody else who's playing rec ball. If you can do that movement, like, okay, cool, let's train, let's execute, let's do that movement. So
Yeah.
there wouldn't be any way I limit that, but I guess the biggest difference, what you would notice with myself doing that same trap bar jump and then them doing that same trap bar jump, they're a lot more fluid with it. And
Mm-hmm.
you've been around like basketball players, and I was just having a conversation with one of my clients. He says, man, I was in the gym and I seen these pro dudes, and you can really tell like the difference, like their whole swagger and everything like that. But he was saying like you could tell when they move, when they execute a move on the court, and then I can do that same move, but it don't look as good. I'm like, hey, it's the same thing in the
Mm-hmm.
weight room. So that trap bar jump, my execution, I'm a coach, right? Mine's probably on a good day 8, 8.5. theirs might be a 9 on a bad day. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
that would be the difference. But training is very similar. I think the biggest thing is the volume, the quality of the work, because they are elite level athletes. They're most of the time they're pretty good movers. So you see that exemplified in their training and when they move, when they execute movements. So yeah, honestly, no big differences like that. It's just the quality in what you see in an athlete, and more often than not, like their strength levels. Like you'll see some guys that you're impressed by what they could do just because they're strong physically. And how you define strength, like that could be a lot of dudes, whether it be reactive strength or just absolute strength. So like it's a difference there. But yeah, I mean, honestly, training is very similar. It's just the quality and then the overall volume. I think it's predicated for the sport.
Hmm. Yeah, that makes sense because, like you said earlier, it's the whole sports specific thing has gone a little too far sometimes, and for the
Hmm.
most part, it's like uh probably I haven't seen your program or anything. Probably like 80%, maybe even 90% is probably the very similar stuff. You're just tweaking little things here and there to make it different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for your college guys versus basically youth guys like the high school, middle school, what's the
Hmm.
differences from there to there?
Ooh, okay, this is actually a good one. So, and with that, I think people have to understand the dynamic. So, when you're dealing with athletes in general, you have to understand some of them don't like training,
Mm,
and you want to make that environment fun, or ultimately to get like effort out of them, to have them really put in input, to really like manipulate them, force outputs that you're looking for in training. Like you have to have buy-in, and by doing that, you got to make it fun. Whether it be the music, your personality, doing something, and like and really explaining, like, yo, the reason why you can't jump, or the reason why you can't dunk, you don't have no bounce. This trap bar jump, this does that for you. Right now, I got you locked in. So I say that on the front end because from a college athlete to high school to middle school, at the end of the day, like social media and everything like that that's going on, like their attention span is short. So for me, like in a training environment, I have to make it fun if I'm really gonna like if we're really gonna use our time valuable and make our time valuable and actually using it. So I think for them with the younger kids, when I say make it fun, doing a really heavy back squat, probably not fun. Maybe, right? It might be a couple guys who like, hey man, let's see how heavy we can get. Okay, cool. But a lot of kids they don't want to do that. Now, if I mention something like, man, let's do this back squat, John Morant, if you think about it, it's the same movement pattern. So if you're really trying to jump high like John Morant and really hopefully dunk one day, if I'm talking to a middle school athlete, this is something I will work on.
mm,
And then within that, I might make a little competition, like, okay, who has the best form? Now I'm not really like making it about weight, because really at that age, it's really about executing form, right? You're still growing, you're still trying to learn movement patterns. So that might be something I gear more towards them as opposed to actual force output. With a middle school kid, I'm thinking movement quality, right? How well can you move? How well can you move under load? And then working within that, they have a long, hopefully long athletic career, history that they can work on. It ain't about like numbers or anything like that. It's more so about having that environment, creating the mindset that, man, actually working out is kind of fun. And if I do this, I actually will get better at sport. It also builds confidence, right? So I could take that to the high school level. They might be looking to get scholarship offers, you know what I'm saying, stuff like that, looking to play at the next level. So now those numbers and stuff mean something more to them.
mm,
Movement quality is still important, but now I'm beginning to look at force outputs. And then I'm looking at the longer picture. So for them, it's like, coach, I want to squat this, I want to squat that. Cool. I'm still making it a priority of movement quality. So now I'm like giving tidbits to them where it's like, yo, do you want to do more weight? Cool. I need you to execute this squat, and I'm gonna make it naturally. It's probably gonna be subjective on how I feel about it, but cool, right? That's my job. I'm the coach. But it's
yeah.
like, yo, you trying to add an extra 20 pounds? I need you to really execute this set. You got to show me you can do the 20 pounds. If this don't look good, why would I add more weight? Very simple, right? That's creating that buy-in for them. And then up into the college athlete, kind of that same mindset, but the stakes are higher now, right? So instead of me being in high school trying to get a scholarship, now I'm in college trying to get to the league or play pro. And then now with the NIL deal, right? That's another component. But I mention all these things because even though I'm a coach in the weight room, there's other things that are in play that you have to be thinking about, that you have to put yourself in their shoes and realize what they're thinking. So with that training, it's like, man, coach, like if I'm like, what is this going to do to help my opportunity? And then whether it be getting to the league or maximizing your NIL opportunity, whatever it's going to be. So if I was a strength coach in the D1 setting, And I know it's Friday, and Friday is a good day to end the week. We really be hitting some like strength movements in the weight room, but I know you kind of like, I know your personality, right? And like you really ain't vibing with the weight room like that, but you worried about your marketability and stuff like that, right? And I'm painting a picture here. So to say, if Friday's a
Mhm.
big day, I'm hitting up our video guy, our photographer, and say, hey man, you mind coming through in the weight room? Here go our training session. And I say that because you know how some guys are, when the lights come on, they ready, they show
Yeah.
up, they show out. And people like coaches knock that, and I mean, like, it is what it is, but use that to your advantage. And so I
Yeah.
know I used to feel differently about it in the past, but because again I mentioned social media and where it is now, I know a dude's not going to perform that squat the same way with or without a camera in my hand, or or
Mhm.
without my phone in my hand. And again, if I'm using it, I'm gonna use that to my advantage. Yo, I need you to really try with this squat, man. Coach, I ain't really. Come on, man. I'll get it for the gram. I'll tag you in it. Trust me. Like, your followers want to see this. Like, I'm saying stuff to them like that, and it's jokes, but tell me they're not really thinking that, right? So I
Oh yeah.
mean, right? You know what I'm saying? So like, and there's nothing wrong. I think people are so quick to point the finger. I'm like, yo, the day and age is just changing. Social media is going to be here whether you like it or not. They're going to use it whether you like it or not. Use it to your advantage. So I'm tapping into that. I'm saying, hey, get this right. Trust me. Hey, matter of fact, you trying to go pro? Them agents and them teams, they want to see what your work ethic look like. We're talking to them about cleaning up their social media and their appearance, and you know what I'm saying, their image. Show that you're working hard, right?
Mhm.
Trust me, like, I'm getting something out of it for sure because now they trying, even if it means I have a camera in my hand. But then they getting something out of it also. It's all about painting that picture, or not painting that picture, but showing them like, yo, like, it's bigger than the weight room. What you doing in here, people do want to see. But then it goes to like your work ethic, your consistency. I'm a big believer in how you do anything is how you do everything. So if you're not really going hard in the weight room, what does it look like in a classroom? What does it look like on a practice court? And then are you one always to complain, man, coach ain't giving me no opportunity? I'm like, well, I see how you are in the weight room. And if I imagine if you like that, then what you do in the classroom? Why would coach want to play somebody who he's got to question his grades, or you hating on your teammate's success? That's a whole nother conversation. But anyway, you know what I'm saying? So like, I say that because I'm in the weight room, I'm coaching that way. But the reason why I love it so much, I'm around young men and I get to help them grow into adults, right?
Mhm.
You get out of the college game or you go into that real world, like, that's it. There's no safety net. There is no like redo. It ain't a video game. You can't get a do over, right? That's this life. So
Yeah.
trying to teach them and instill them habits and work ethic, principles, morals, stuff like that in the weight room, and then hopefully, you know what I'm saying, it carries over. But yeah, man, that'll be the difference. That's my long answer, but you know, I said we can get into it.
So mental toughness is one of the biggest things that I know pretty much every coach preaches to the players, and also one of the biggest factors in the players' game is the mental toughness. So I know that a lot of coaches wish their players would be mentally tougher, and they struggle with teaching them and understanding, what mental toughness is to apply it to the game. So to help you guys out, I wrote a whole ebook breaking down what mental toughness is, different factors that make up what mental toughness is, and different ways that you can apply it to your life and your game, because it's a good blend of the player and the person, of how both sides of you can grow in your mental toughness. So I broke it down in an ebook, the Mental Toughness Playbook. The whole ebook is about 50 pages, a little less than 50 pages, easy to read, a simple breakdown of what mental toughness is, different factors and different areas in it that impact your mental toughness, and how you can grow and develop in there. So if you're interested in it, it's in the description below. So go ahead and look in the hit that link and invest into yourself by investing into your mindset and mental toughness. Because I personally believe that your brain and your mind is so much powerful than you give it credit. So invest into your mindset, and then your body will follow afterwards. So the mental toughness playbook, get the ebook below. If you tune into it, thank you. I appreciate it. If not, it's fine. Get back to the rest of the episode. See you later. No, that was all good points, bro. Like, do you think so? But one thing you talked about was like the social media part, right?
Hmm.
Um, I know me personally, I have a love hate relationship, because if I had my way, I wouldn't exist on social media. I just train, do what I gotta do, whatever. But like you said, it's here to stay. It's a tool. Use it or be used by it, whatever. So it's like, how do you personally? Because that's actually how we connected. I
Hmm.
saw you social media and everything. So, um, how do you personally view social media for you at this point? Because some people love it and they, thrive on it, whatever. But for you personally, how do you view social media, and like, how do you personally like um utilize that besides like the benefit for the kids? But how do you know personally utilize it for you?
For sure. So for me, and first and foremost, like social media, I always viewed it as a tool. I mean, it's entertaining for sure, but at the end of the day, it's a tool and it is what you make it to be or what you want it to be. So I say that because the people who may be against social media, they may not want their personal life out there. You know what I'm saying? They might want to keep things private. And that's totally fine. Social media may not be for you, but if you're an entrepreneur or if you're selling something or if you're trying to reach people, social media probably will be for you just because like you have a great audience. I can reach out to people like across the world. So it is what you make it. For me personally, I choose to use it. I had my first page originally, and mainly all I posted was strength and conditioning content, basketball. That's all I was really into. That's most of the accounts I followed anyway. There's some friends I followed, some I didn't. Some were upset that I weren't following them. I just kind of explained to them like, hey, this is how I choose to use my Instagram. It's nothing personal, but I don't want to be on here wasting my time. And I know that's what can happen if you follow a bunch of accounts for entertainment. Next
Mm-hmm.
thing you know, you're scrolling. So for me, like I definitely try to like avoid that. I still do it from time to time, but you are what you consume, right? So just trying to be mindful of that. So a lot of the content I follow, how I choose to use it, strength conditioning, training content. I take a holistic approach to it. So it's mental health, it's the yoga. I mean, you name it. But if it's anything health related, I'm probably following that. That's how I choose to use it. I had the Performance Hoops account just because, I wanted to like find that niche and then really like make my content be directed towards that. So that's how I choose to use it. Um, I follow a couple accounts in there for entertainment. I mean, outside of this, like I'm like everyone else, man. I like to have a good time. I enjoy a good laugh like the next person. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, and I have like group chats on there with my friends, you know, my homies. So if there's something like entertain, like honestly, that's where my entertainment comes from. It's not even me following accounts. It's me having a conversation with the homies, chopping it up that way. And then, I mean, other than that, like that's how I choose to use it. I'm trying to think of anything else that I'm missing. Um, yeah, man, that's it. I know sometimes people get upset when they see stuff on there. I'm like, you don't have to follow it, just unfollow it. Keep it moving, right? It's really not a big deal. And then I mean, I guess you can find out when people unfollow you and stuff like that. And there's a whole bunch of metrics and stuff that you can look into. But again, it's a tool at the end of the day. It is what you make of it. You don't have to use it. But again, if you're trying to reach people or if you're selling something, I feel like that's vital at this point, whether you like it or not, because nobody's going through. Remember what is it, the yellow pages? Nobody's going through the phone book anymore. You know what I'm saying, right? They would go to Google folks. Google first. I might have showed my age on that one, but nobody's going through that anymore. I still go to Google and Yelp, but I just found out on people more likely to go on TikTok for like restaurant reviews and stuff like that. And I was like, I didn't know, but it's changing, man. So yeah, it's a tool. Use it how you choose, but at the end of the day, like nobody's making you use it. You don't have to. So yeah.
You mean you might show both our age because I laughed at the joke. So
Yeah.
yellow pages, man, that's
Yeah.
throwback right there. I'm pretty
Right.
sure most people don't even know what that is, but
No, he
it's
said,
all
what
good.
is that? They're gonna have to hit up Google to find out, man.
Like you said, they probably hit up TikTok, man. What is yellow pages?
Right?
Like,
Man, let me
is it a
see
book
this
with yellow
hashtag. Is
pages?
this right?
But yeah, man. Yeah, man. I like that because I like one thing that shifted for me personally, and it really really helped me out in business and as far as social media and stuff too. Is like once I detached from it and I saw it as a business,
Hmm.
it changed everything. Because before it was like it was me, and I felt like it was kind of my personal page and my business page and this, that, and whatever. Once I completely separated from that and made it this is a business page, the mindset shift went to, oh, I can't afford to sit here and treat this like it's just a hobby or just because me personally, I wouldn't post if it
Right.
was my choice. But as a business, like it's one guy I follow, he was like, you have to really start respecting your business and your page as a business because you don't see Nike taking days off, you don't see McDonald's taking days off. So why are you taking
Facts.
days off if you're trying to be a business? And I was like, you didn't have to hit me like that, man. Like,
Right.
so from that point on, I was like, okay, let me also reevaluate everything from top to bottom, like you said, who I'm following and the content that I'm putting out. Because make sure it's very niche down, like you're saying for your performance hoops pages. Like make sure everything is very targeted and it's very specific. Because I can
Hmm.
get a little less sometimes, get into what I want to post, but is that actually what my audience needs? So
Right.
that's a balance, man. So how do you kind of figure that out for yourself? It's like, okay, I want to post this, but does this make sense to post for this? Or I feel like I need to talk about this, but this is relevant for this. So how do you balance and find what makes sense for you to post, with that being the juggling act of what you want to post and what's needed or what they want?
Yeah. So for me, if it's something I want to post, I just put that on my personal page. But honestly, if you see on there, like I post rarely, so now I've been trying to transition that page to make it a little more personal. But I'm right along with you, man. Like I really don't like put myself out there like on social media or like on any platform. Like for me, is if you want to know who I am, like here's my phone number. You know, we can chop it up, FaceTime, what have you. But
Mhm.
I like them personal interactions more than I do like to the public on that end. But as far as like the performance hoops page and like the content, like you said, if you're trying to run a business, like they're not taking like the ones at the top, they're not taking any days off. So why should I? So for me, I try to post content frequently. There's a point where I was cranking it out every single day, just trying. But I think from there is looking at, and Instagram does a great job. I'm mentioning this. I'm sure the other sites do too. But as far as providing those metrics, right? So for me, I look at the posts that do really well as far as likes or engagement, and I'm looking at one of the demographics, right? What's the age group? Where are
Mhm.
they from? You know, where are they at? And then why did that basically I'm trying to find out why did that post do so well and then recreate that content.
Mhm.
um I know a lot of people repost the same content. I haven't done that yet, not that I'm against that, just haven't. But someone made a great point to say I've reposted this post I'm sharing with you right now 8 times already, but you didn't even notice. So like there's nothing wrong with repurposing or resharing content. Sometimes people didn't see it the first time.
Mhm.
um so that's something you could do. People might call it recycled content, but if I'm doing one training program and then I do it again, technically that's recycled too. So I mean, I don't see the
Mhm.
argument there, but
Mhm.
that's where I'm at with the posting. I try to post frequently. I'm looking at. I mean, even when I have posts, I ask people questions like, "What do you want to see more of?" Or like, if people DM me, okay, cool, like that. Like them are opportunities for me to create content specifically for that. And then for me, just reaching out, if I know somebody reached out to me and said something and I create content about it, I'm gonna go and tag them. Yo, what we were talking about before, here's a post for that. Or I'll share it to my story. And that's just the way to create engagement, things like that. For me with my page, I'm just trying to show people I'm not just some coach trying to do it on his own or anything like that. Like I still play ball, but then I want you to know like I'm a real person right here. I'm not just some computer or anything like that. So when they do reach out, I do try to respond. Um, I think sometimes some of the questions are a little elaborate. It's like, man, like no offense, like I don't have the time to like really go into detail the way you would want. Um,
Mhm.
and like that might be like a time where I can hop on a call with them, like a consultation or something like that. But yeah, that's where I try to post the content. I think some of my posts that I've done well, people like they see the pros and it's like, well, how can I do what they're doing? And some things you can mimic just because like you can break that down and you can regress it for like someone like myself. But then there's some things where it's like, hey man, realistically, you probably can't do that. Probably don't need to be doing that. Like it's not really conducive to what you're trying to get done. So,
Yeah.
and I guess an example for that would be I always like bringing up Steph because we see like his shooting drills and stuff like that pregame, and it's like doing that isn't going to help you shoot like Steph. Getting up quality game reps will help you become a better shooter on a long, long road to getting anywhere close to Steph, but shooting from half court is not going to help you. The reason why
Yeah.
Steph can do that, right? His skill level is totally different, and he's so elite. It's like, yo, in order for you to continue to get better, I have to tap into something totally different.
Mhm.
So Steph shooting half court shots might be a challenge for him, but then he also can shoot like 5, maybe 10 feet behind the 3 point line with ease. But you see this, you see what I'm saying? Like as far as the
Yeah.
skill level, so someone like myself would be maybe shooting a regular NBA three might be comfortable for me, but then me stepping outside my range would be 3 to 5 feet back.
Mhm.
But again, I don't need to be shooting half court shots. Like that's not going to help me at all. But the shot trajectory will be totally different for myself
Mhm.
compared to a Steph, right? And when you see him shoot those shots, his half court shots looks very identical to his 3 point shot. But again, he's
Mhm.
mastered those mechanics. It's a reason why he's an elite level shooter. Um, but yeah, that's how I would kind of. I'm getting off track here, but that's where I would go with the posting and things like that, and then how my thought process behind it, like why I'm posting what I'm posting. I'm really trying to reach out to my followers or whoever's into the content. So if anybody does follow me, shoot me a DM and say, hey, could you do more of this? Or comment on a post, actually respond back and answer. Cause I mean, the content's for myself, but it's what I'm seeing. I'm also like, I'm not everywhere, right? But some people have a different perspective. Like, yo, why don't you
Mhm.
post about this? or what's your thoughts on that? And it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of for me. At the end of the day, I'm posting content to open up the door for conversation because I
Mm-hmm.
love basketball. I like chopping it up, training perspective, court perspective. Like I'm watching the game, so that's just my way to open up a door for conversation, at least on the training side of it.
Mm-hmm. And you got me thinking, man. Who would you say you play like, or maybe when you
Ooh,
were a
okay,
kid you play like? Because I see Vince Carter in the background, so I'm like, does he
yeah,
got the buttons like that? Or so
okay.
who would you say your comparison is? And let's not be moderate or try to be humble here. Like be for real. Like if you feel like
Yeah.
you getting it up like Steph, then say you getting it up like Steph. Just be
Okay.
able to back it up with film or something, man. That's all I'm saying. So if you had to say your comparison, or two, three people, who would you say he's like?
So I would say, um, I'm not a shooter. Let's get that out the way. And I say that now because if anybody's listening, like they know, like I'm not known for shooting, but I've always been athletic. So I do have had bunnies. I still can get up, but not like I used to. But the Vince Carter jersey, I actually had a chance to work with Vince when I was back with the Kings, and that was a gift
Mm,
from. I mean, I'll explain him later, but that was a gift from one of my friends, mentor, somebody who I've known in the field, had a chance to work with. So yeah, gave me that. But so very athletic. I'm a slasher. Like my mid range game is nice. I'll say that. Like if I was trying to get a buck, game was on the line. My mid range, I do got some bounce. If I had to compare myself to NBA players, so I'm left handed, and I was told he was like he called me like dude called me Lamar Odom, and I would say
mm,
that's a fair comparison. I'm
mm,
not that tall. Like I'm about 6'3". Like I said, I play D3 ball. So in reality, that's like small forward at the D3 level. So maybe I could see that. But lefty, I can see the comparison. Like I'm a playmaker. Like, I can get my own bucket, but I like I think like my basketball IQ is pretty high enough on the level that I understand the game. So I'm trying to share the rock. I like making like those good plays. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like, man, they
yeah.
moved the ball, they did this, they did that. I'm like, yo, that's a good team right there. So I'm that dude trying to make that happen. Um, don't get me wrong. Like I like getting my own buck. That's probably the reason why I do go to the gym. I'm still working on my game, and then
Mm,
now, especially like on the rec level, nobody's really playing like that.
mm,
So I mean, for me, it's like it's an opportunity to get my own shine on. So
yeah.
I would say Lamar Odom. That would be a fair comparison. So currently, because I've realized some of my followers might be younger. I mean, you got. I would say pick your lefty out there. I can't think of anybody currently. Jokingly, I poor man Zion. I'll say that poor man Zion. I'll say that if I had, and when I say poor man, like I'm not trying to boast myself up like that because I'm nowhere near that man's level. But
I'm
I'm
with you. I
athletic,
got you.
right? I'm athletic. I'm technically undersized, but I can play all positions. Like, yeah, I would say that.
LO. I like the LO comparison, man. I
Yeah,
respect that. So now I
yeah.
see where your game is that you playmaker, do a little bit of everything,
Mhm.
I feel you. Okay. So who did you watch him growing up, or was it like who was some of the guys that you grew up watching and try to pattern your game after?
Yeah, so true and like real LO fans, if you fan of basketball, like you remember him back, you remember the big three, him and the Clippers before big threes were a thing. It was him, Darius Miles, Q Rich. So I remember
Mm-hmm.
Lamar Odom from back then, but growing up, my favorite, everyone knows like my favorite player, Kobe. Like it was always Kobe, always gonna be Kobe. I mean, it was nothing like it, man. I think growing up early on when I first got into basketball, it was Michael Jordan, but I didn't understand or appreciate the game at that age the way I can now or as I got older.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, like Michael Jordan might be of the older generation. For me, it's Kobe, and for the current
Yeah.
generation, it might be LeBron. But for me, it was always Kobe. So I mean, like that, like I try to make my game after him, but even more so, like his mindset. And honestly, for me, and this might upset a few people, but like when Kobe passed and everyone's trying to take on a Mamba mentality, I was kind of off put by it just because I remember watching Kobe's like videos and stuff like that. I remember he would do the 666 workout where for
Mm-hmm.
6 months out of the year, 6 days a week, 6 hours, you know what I'm saying? Like I remember all of that. So for me, it's like, yo, if he really was doing Mamba mentality, like it was more so like I know I can tell you not doing Mamba mentality. No knock on anybody, but that work ethic was like a sickening level. I feel like very few people in the world could actually reach that. And then, I try to like calm myself down and realize that, hey, it's not that they're actually trying to do the Mamba mentality, but maybe that's a sign for them. They're like, yo, always go hard, always
Mm-hmm.
give your best effort no matter what. And I think that's something I myself, most people took from Kobe. But yeah, man, he was just, my man's was different. He was probably the closest thing we seen the Jordan from not just a skill level, but like that mental approach too. I mean, Caps was
Mm-hmm.
different. So definitely, man, Kobe. Dudes who I enjoy watching now. Uh, Paul George the other night was wild. So Paul George is a dude I like watching.
Mm-hmm.
But Ja might be my favorite, and I say that
Yeah, I like
because
John.
the skill level, right? The athleticism, OD. But him as a leader, he's a young dude. I think people forget that he just got the check right. It's very easy
Mm-hmm.
for him to kind of go off and like, okay, I'm good now, and then do his. But he's never been like that. I remember being at Auburn and we played against Murray State. He had it then, like that whole like I don't know what it is, but a dude like that on your team, how would you not want to play with a dude like that? I don't care if he
Yeah.
scores all the points. I don't care if like he's the focal point. Like you see him on the court, like none of his teammates care about none of that, and they respond to him totally different. Like dudes like that, like I don't know what that is. You just see it, and it's like, nah, man, he got it. When people
Mm-hmm.
say, well, what is it? I don't know, but he got it. Like that's Josh. So I definitely ain't watching him, man. He's probably my favorite.
Yeah, I'm a big Kobe guy. I'm with
Mm,
you as far as what Jordan was to the old generation, Kobe was for us, and like the next generation, like you said, it's LeBron. Got those Steph in there too. I think is
mm,
one of those guys, but Kobe was my dude, like
yeah,
still my guy, and the whole Mamba mentality thing. I'm with you on that to where it's like I didn't feel away when people did it. I always felt like what what he meant during his whole lifetime people finally took that as a realization to be like, oh snap, let me like actually apply some of the things that he's been teaching us for the 20 years he's in the game or whatever. Like I
yeah.
heard the story of some guy who after he passed, he went to the gym and went crazy. And he went like he lost, I don't remember exactly how much, but he went like, big transformation in the weight room. So it's like for some people that was their awakening to be like, let me actually do things now. Like, let me apply Mamba mentality. Even, of course, nobody's Kobe level. That's the only conversation we can have about Mamba mentality. But that could be a whole episode, honestly, with me, bro.
No, fact, hey, 100%.
But it's just like but within that microcosm, like the small percentage of what Mamba mentality actually means to the general population, a bigger percentage to what it means to hoopers and stuff like that, it's
Hmm.
still only maybe 10% of what Kobe actually embodied of my mentality. But that 10% we have latched on to, it means so much. And that's the life changing thing that for me personally, I take to myself. And it's like in business, it's like, man, when Kobe sit down and be like, B, you did your thing. Like, okay, I see what you're doing. Like, all right. Like, would I get that Kobe stamp of approval to be like, all right, you did your thing today. What you gonna do tomorrow? All right,
Yep.
Kobe, let me do my thing. Next day, that wasn't good enough, man. What you doing, bro? Like that ain't mama. That ain't it right there. I didn't teach you that, man. It's like, all right, bro, I got you. Like, so that's kind
Right.
of how I talk to myself through that situation. Like, and I feel like that's what people, not even that specifically, but that's something that people got from a mentality, man. So,
Job's not finished, right? Job's not
oh
finished. So,
yeah,
and honestly, like that story you just shared, stuff I've seen out there, and it's like, man, that's really what kind of changed my approach, at least initially. And it's just like, wait a minute, Mamba mentality, what it means to me might mean something totally different to somebody else. And like for that
mm-hmm.
individual you talked about, it got him in the gym. He started going there every day. Like you said, life changing transformation. So another thing with that is Kobe was like very inspiring. Even after after he passed. So I think that was the big thing too, right? He inspired people. So regardless of what it meant, it got you inspired to do something. It could have been off the couch. It could have been to start that business play or idea that you was scared to take a risk on. Like who knows? So, no, man. If anything, like I think that's one thing I can say, regardless of my perspective on it, I can share with
Mm-hmm.
everybody is you. At the end of the day, when you think Kobe, you think inspiration for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the one thing that I try to tell people this all the time is like, I'm not happy about his passing at all. But the one thing about his passing that I personally can find peace with is that he got his flowers. Like
Hmm.
he was able to like he knew how much he meant to the world. And like he meant something to the whole world. Cause after he passed, I don't think we've seen anybody react or get that reaction across the world. Like
Yeah,
Americans, we have certain people that we feel a way about, but like what other athlete meant that much to the world from our perspective? You could have some people back in the day that meant a lot, but they didn't have the social media and everything around to touch the every corner of the world like we can now. So no offense to a Ali or something like that, but he wasn't able to be marketed as well as Kobe was. So it's not a fair comparison, but just it's kind of what it is. But like Kobe was able to smell his flowers before he left. So like his family knew, he knew, and everybody around him was like, "Yo, Kobe's really appreciated." Like he might have got every smelling every flower. It might not be a perfect ending, but that's one of the few people that I was like, okay, like I'm appreciate. I feel the love that I get, like all the hard work, all the years, the sacrifices, surgeries, late nights, early mornings. This is what is the result. So that's kind of gave me some peace about it to be like, he smelled his flowers before he was gone, man. So still tough though. I don't know.
Yeah, man, for sure.
Wait, wait, hold on. Time out. Hold on real quick. I just got a quick question for you. All right, okay, look. So where did you go? Like, what are you going after right now in your life? Right? Are you looking to make the team? Okay, you didn't make the team, but you're looking to figure out how to make the team coming up. Or maybe you made the team, but you're on the bench, you're not playing like you want to. Or maybe you're playing a little bit like you want to, but you're not a starter, or you're not finishing the games like you want to. Or maybe you're the player, but you're just not quite where you want to be as far as recognizing your county or maybe your conference or your state, whatever you're trying to be recognized at. Um, Whatever your goal is, I want you to forget about that. Like put it on the board or something, write it down in your phone and just put it somewhere and tuck it away. I want you to take that goal, throw it over there, and now I want you to write a new one, right? I want you to write PROGRESS. Progress. I want you to make progress your goal. Okay? So take that big goal that you have now and take it, put it in your back pocket, and just figure out how to make progress and work towards that goal. Because sometimes we get so caught up on the goal of the end goal where we want to be that we don't keep working forward and working towards that goal like we should be. So every day I want you to wake up and figure out how to just make progress. How can I be better today than I was yesterday? It's new tomorrow. The same exact thing. Figure out how can I be better today than I was yesterday. It doesn't matter how good you are or what you did yesterday. It's irrelevant. It doesn't matter. Your goal today is to make progress be better than you was yesterday. And so if you need a reminder about that, all I want you to do is to have a reminder. I want you to go ahead and get one of these hoodies. Or you get you a t-shirt. I got a couple options for you. So get you a hoodie or a t-shirt just to remind yourself, just to keep it as a memento to be like, man, today's goal is to make progress. My only goal is to make progress. Progress is the only goal. So if that fits you and you feel like you need to make progress to be your goal, go ahead and hit the link in the description below and invest into yourself, invest into that reminder. Treat it like an alarm clock to remind you that you need to make progress. Make sure that you're focused and being intentional about the work that you had today. So progress is the only goal. Hit the description below to invest into yourself. It's not about me. Investing into yourself to remind yourself that progress is my goal for today. So that's enough for me, man. I hope I didn't interrupt you. Get back to the episode. Yeah, man. So growing up, you watched LO. You
Yep.
know, that was you guys. So were you always a hooper or was it a late bloom? Like how did you get into the game?
So early on for me with basketball, always always liked it. Wasn't athletic, like I was fast, but like that was my only attribute. So I think right around middle school, 8th grade is when I started to take basketball like serious. Like, man, I'm actually like try to play and be good. Played on a couple AAU teams, and then eventually got better. So freshman year in high school, I tried for the team, and I actually get cut. It's a crazy story, but I get cut, and I remember I was mad, I was sick, salty about it. Like I seen dudes who I didn't think were good at all make the team, but I did it, and I was like, how he, you know what I'm saying? So stuff like that. But I could have been bitter, and I was initially, but then that whole summer I was like, man, I'm in the gym. And
Mm-hmm.
like you said, like early on, before Mamba mentality became a thing, and early on, I'd be sitting there, it's like, man, I don't feel like going today. I'm like, I didn't like how I felt getting cut. I'm going to the gym, or I'm going outside to the park. And I just
Mm-hmm.
went, worked on my game all summer. So sophomore year, and I played basketball like my whole life, but this is early on. Sophomore year, I go try out for the team for JV and make the team, but I was so nervous that I got sick. Like when I found out I made the team, cool, and I went threw up in the bathroom. And then so I didn't even practice the first day, but all the dudes knew I like worked on my game, and then cool, make the team. But and then after that, after sophomore year, junior year, senior, I was on varsity at that point, and then like I said, I played D3 college basketball, but always been a fan of basketball. I love other sports. I played tennis for a brief stint freshman year in high school. And the only reason why I did that, one of the coaches for basketball, he knew I got cut. He knew I was salty about it. He says, "You want to know why?" He said, "You come play tennis, I'll get you faster." And I really played tennis. And then you think about, because tennis, basketball, I think the one thing that translates for sure is the change of direction, the lateral movements, right? You're moving in the front of plane a lot, and then the reactive component, like most sports. But again, you react to somebody else's motion, or you reacted to the ball in play. So honestly, like he did that, and then I got I got to bring that back too. So I play tennis, I get better, moving laterally, I get quicker, change direction, all that. So how did that translate to basketball? I was a really good defender. So literally, that's how I got minutes. So sophomore year, if I wanted to get in the game, who getting buckets? Josh, go in, shut him down, say less. And then that literally was getting me minutes. And then junior year, that's when I started figuring out, like, yo, hold on, I got to get buckets too. So I got to figure this part out. So it started out as getting athletic, right? So I get offensive rebounds, getting those buckets, or I get a steal, push in transition, get a layup. And then I started finally figuring out my game. So mid range was always early on. I was just a late bloomer as far as on the athletic side. I was better. I'm better now than I was playing in college, which is sad because I was like, man, if I waited, maybe I could have played D2, D1. I don't know, but yeah, man, that was early on. Always basketball. Other sports was cool, but basketball was always number one.
So where are you from again? I know we talked about it, but I can't remember. Where you
So
from again?
originally, I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, up north. Okay. It's probably cold right about now just because it's November. But yeah, born and raised there.
And where'd you play college ball?
Played college ball. So Marion University, small D3 school in Wisconsin. It's between, so people know Milwaukee and then Green Bay because of the Packers, but it's between Milwaukee and Green Bay. Fond du Lac, Wisconsin's right there in the middle. But played D3 ball there, and then that was it from the athletic side. Then after that, got into the work field, found out about strength and conditioning. Really D3 year, we didn't have a strength coach at the time. Strength conditioning originated in the 80s, so it's still kind of new. But in the grand scheme of things, at least. But a guy came in for a summer before my senior year in college, and he was a strength coach. But really, I didn't know what he did. He just came in, trained us in the summer. I'm like, so what do you do? Are you a personal trainer for athletes? And he's like, yeah, I'm a strength coach. And then I'm like, okay, cool. You get to wear shorts and t-shirt to work every day. He's like, well, yeah. And I'm like, man, that sounds kind of dope. And then, so nothing really popped off just yet then, but that was the spark initially. And then after college, get into the work field, my undergrad was in sports management. I wanted to be a strength coach. I wanted to go down that route. And then eventually I started going down that route. You want to get into that? I mean, I can explain that though.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So, and then in college, right, I had the 2 knee surgeries. I went through rehab and stuff like that. So again, all these things are going into play as far as where my mind frame was and why I want to be a coach and going to strength conditioning. So early on, I saw well, if you train or if you rehab, you can get back to being 100%. This dude was a strength coach. He got to wear shorts and t-shirt to work. Okay, I don't got to wear a suit. Okay, nice. And then he was around athletes. It was a way to be around basketball because I still love basketball. I realized I couldn't play pro or anything like that. So that's what kind of led me into early on. And then my first initial start, everyone knows IMG or familiar with it. And then for me, I always say this, not in a bad way, but little brother to IMG was Impact Basketball. At the time, it was 3 locations. I know there was one in Vegas. There was one in Florida. But I interned there. And I wouldn't even say it was a real internship. It was just an opportunity for me to get my feet wet and really say, hey, do I really want to do this? And the answer is yes. So I go back to Wisconsin. I get a job working at the front desk at Gold's Gym. And then I started doing an internship at UW Milwaukee. So I finally get an internship. And then it was crazy because one of the personal trainers at the gym got his master's degree with the strength coach for UW Milwaukee. So I put him down as a reference, which helped me get the internship. So I say that now because when people say it ain't what you know, who you know, that's a perfect example. So, and actually I'll tell you how all this networking goes into play and why that's so important. But so I get the internship, UW Milwaukee, do a good enough job there, but a lot of people, I needed experience. So I also do an internship at Marquette. So UW Milwaukee, Marquette, those are the 2 Division I schools in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So I interned at both those places. And then I still didn't have an opportunity yet as far as in the field. I'm kind of an introvert naturally. I didn't know the networking piece or anything like that. I went to a D3 school, so we didn't have a strength coach. It wasn't I can go back and intern. I didn't know anybody in the field or anything like that. But so after I interned at Marquette, I didn't really have anything going on, but I found this part-time opportunity at high school, and basically it was like create a strength conditioning program for them. And so I did that. It helped me grow. I was learning a bunch on the fly because I was in charge as me by myself. They even gave me a little budget to buy equipment. So it was cool, nice little learning experience there, man. But again, like I didn't know anything really. And for me, I came to the understanding of like, man, if I'm gonna make it as a strength coach, I have to get out of my comfort zone. And that meant I had to get out of Wisconsin, I had to get out of Milwaukee. I had to be in a situation where I was gonna sink or swim. So applied to every internship outside of Wisconsin. And fortunately I got one at Stanford. It was an unpaid internship for 6 months. And what you're competing for a paid spot. So my plan was, okay, cool. I'll get there. I'll be the best intern. I'll get the paid opportunity. Life would be great. It did not go down like that. And I say that because for people who don't know, Stanford is in the Bay Area, Palo Alto. It's one of the most expensive places in the country, if not the most expensive. And I say that like when I first moved out there, I remember I got a salad and added chicken, and it came out to $27 when we went out to eat one day. This was for a salad and chicken. I'm like, what? So it hurt, like it hurt my feelings, it hurt my wallet, but
that's tough.
So right, but so I'm there at the time, Corey Schlesinger, and he's the head strength coach, head of performance with the Phoenix Suns right now. But
I was about to ask you about that.
Yeah, so at the time he was at Stanford, but when I applied to all these internships, Instagram, right? Like I see him on Instagram, and I was like, man, his approach is different than everybody else. And I was just intrigued as to why. First off, not that it was bad. I mean, I didn't know anything to say somebody else's training was bad. I didn't know enough, but I was just so intrigued by his because it was just different. I was like, man, what does he know that everybody else don't? So for me to get the internship, I remember I was putting this in my head. I was like, yo, I'm gonna get there. I'm finna intern. I'm finna learn from dude. Like I gravitated to Corey for whatever reason, and Corey took me under his wing. Like he's been my guy to this day. I'm so appreciative of Corey because I feel like when I got to him, he really put me on, and like my career kind of like trajectory went off. So I'm at Stanford for only 2 months. Not a bad thing. One, I was running out of money, so I budgeted and everything like that. I budgeted my money for 6 months. I did not expect what it was going to be when we really got out there, and I'm running out of like funds. So if I didn't get this next opportunity, I was going to end up going back home. Like I ran out of money. So, but Ramsey Nijam, who's now at the University of Kansas, Ramsey also great friend of mine, always looked out for me. But he was the head strength coach for the Kings at the time, youngest strength coach in NBA history to this day.
Yep.
So I'm like you said, I'm giving my man's flowers when it's due. But he brought me on as an intern. But before all that happened, he came by Stanford and he was there with Corey. They were talking, and I seen him. But if all my interns who know, like when I say I've been there, I've been there. So I'm in the middle of cleaning the weight room, and all the other coaches were around when Ramsey came in, him and Corey. It would have looked real bad if I stopped cleaning to go over and introduce myself. But I wanted to say, what's up? I see this dude in the league. I'm trying to, make it as a strength coach. I'm talking about networking. Like I need to go introduce myself. Yeah. But in that moment, I was like, I don't want to put this spray bottle and this towel down just to say what's up. And then the other coaches be like, man, what are you doing? Go back to cleaning. They sun me right in front of them. It look all bad. I was worried. In retrospect, I should have said F it and like go do it. But after the fact, Corey, again, such a real one, he comes up to me. He's like, yo, man, you saw who that was? And I was like, yeah. And then he explained who he was. And then he said, why didn't you come over? I was like, man, I was about to, or I wanted to, but I was cleaning. And then Corey's like, man, you should have came over. I would have vouched for you. And so I'm like, man, like that's love. But so to continue with that, Corey told me about the opportunity. It ain't yours for sure, but he said, you apply, I put a good word in for you, and then it's on you after that. So, okay, bet. So I applied, and I don't know how out of how many people it was. I want to say at least 40 at the time, but I ended up getting an internship. So, and it was paid. So Stanford for 2 months, right? Now I go up a little further north in Cali to Sacramento. I get the paid internship. So for me, that was a real almost I made it moment. Not really, not quite, but almost. Is like, yo, before then I interned for maybe 2 years. So I finally started getting paid with the Kings, even though it was a paid internship. I think it was minimum wage, but I was like, hey, I'm getting something to do what I love, and it's helping me cover these bills. In my mind, I was winning. So rocked out there for a year. It wasn't just me and Ramsey. Evan Van Beesler, he was our strength conditioning coach at the time, or assistant strength coach at the time, and Ernie de Los Angeles. He's now with the G League Ignite. Ernie was G League Ignite now, but he was also the G League strength coach for the Stockton Kings, and then before that, the Reno, Nevada, where they were before Stockton. But so it was us four. I talk about that group chat on Instagram. It's usually us four chopping it up. We still conversate till this day, whether it be FaceTime, group text, group chat, what have you. But it was us four together. So them guys, like I would reach out to, even like now I get off the phone, like rap with them. But so fortunate those dudes. But that was the Kings, and then so their fourth season, it was a seasonal internship, and then again, like Ramsey and all those guys, they're looking out for me, trying to find my next opportunity. And I mentioned this again, we talk about networking. So Corey helped put me on with the Kings. I get the opportunity. Ramsey and Evan and Ernie and all those guys, they helped me for the next opportunity. Ramsey went down to Houston when they played the Rockets, and he met up with Alan Bishop. He's the University of Houston men's basketball strength coach. And currently, he's still there. I'm currently in Houston right now, so he's literally right up the way. But I've met him before, so it's cool to have him right here in the backyard. But I talked to him, and the plan was to get an opportunity at UH. That didn't happen, but he says, would you be interested in a GA opportunity, big-time SEC school? You know, it's men's basketball. I didn't care about anything else. I was like, yeah. I didn't know the school. I didn't know the school or anything like that. So he says, cool. I'll touch base with you in a couple of days. I'm like, okay. Who hit me up after was Damon Davis, who was and currently is the head strength coach for men's basketball at Auburn University. So War Eagle first, I got to say that, let people know. But he had reached out to me through text, and I was so excited. I'm like, yeah, what I got to do? I was acting like the opportunity was already mine, and he was like, hold on. First off, let's get on the phone. So I kind of showed like my eagerness and maybe like how young I was, but I was just so excited for the opportunity. So we get on the phone, we talk, and things actually went really well. But from other opportunities I've heard about and just things I experienced, if it's not in writing, it doesn't exist. So he was telling me, I got it, but I want to see it in writing, and that was making me uneasy, right? Like I'm finna Sacramento, California. I'm gonna move across the country again, technically, and move to Auburn, Alabama, but I had nothing in writing to show for it, so I was scared. Mm-hmm. And talking with Ramsey and him, that's my circle. I confided in him. They said, why don't you just call him and ask? Or just tell him how you feel, and like I'm sure like he can explain. So I said, okay. So I called and yo, Damon, man, I just want to say appreciate the opportunity, but I'm a little uneasy right now. I don't have anything in writing, like, is there anything I can ensure this is a done deal before I start making arrangements? And he was very cool. He was like, yeah, man, my fault. I didn't smooth anything over or anything like that. He was like, I'm just waiting for them to clear everything so I can get you the paperwork and submit the background check and all that. So I was like, oh, and that made, man, when I say like, for anybody out there, like if you're going to take a lesson from this, if you're unsure about something, go to who you need to go to and call them and just ask. It'll take care of everything, I promise you. But anyway, so talk to him, and that reassured everything. I get to Auburn, rocked out there, man, wonderful opportunity between the Kings and Auburn. Them probably my two best experiences. I learned a lot. I got to grow a lot. One of the places we won a lot, but it was just a hell of an experience, man. I won't take any of that for granted, but was at Auburn for 2.5 years. Looking for a job after. I got my master's there and everything like that. Looking for a job after, but COVID hit. And so for people who don't know, like in the basketball field, basketball jobs usually open up around the summer. Mm-hmm. And COVID hit. So for me thinking I'm going to get a job in May, maybe June at the latest, I didn't get a job till August because of COVID, right? And people weren't really hiring like that at the time. So it was a little different. But I ended up getting a job at UMass. So that was my first head gig. And everything was great. Again, it was how you're working through challenges of COVID and things like that. But my first opportunity there, and that's where I'm fortunate, that's where I met my fiance. And we met, and ultimately we came up with the decision that we're going to move to Houston. She was getting an opportunity to get her PhD paid for, and they're paying her to do it. So in my mind, that's a no-brainer. Like, you got to go to Houston. But we spent so much time together during COVID. Long distance really wasn't an option. Like, there's no way. And for me to make it work, like I made a personal decision rather, and I resigned. I quit my job at UMass and went to move down there. And for me, I mean, life's short, man. Like, we've seen people who passed due to COVID. We see some of our favorite rappers, some of our favorite athletes who pass. We see, like, as you get older, like, I feel like more and more people end up leaving. And if anything, man, like, this life ain't for certain, it's short, and don't take nothing for granted. So I've just been real fortunate for everything in my life. So for me to like make that decision, like, it was a no-brainer. It's like, yo, if I want to be with her, I got to make this work. And the biggest thing, the most important thing to me is family. Like, I learned that very early on. I seen that like being engulfed at Auburn, like they really like embody that. So like when like I don't work there or anything like that, but like when athletes and stuff like that go to Auburn, people wonder why, especially when they're Under Armour, when Nike might be the craze. Like they really embody family and like they really look out for you. They look out for you, like they really take care of you there. So that was really big for me, like family. And so for me, like to move down here with her, Houston, it's been great, honestly. Like I haven't had zero complaints. I missed the field on that end, but I'm still embarking on something new, trying to start my own business. I'm still training people online and in person.
Hmm.
And it's just different. We just had a baby girl.
Congrats,
I'm
man.
getting off track, but thank you. We just had a baby girl this past summer, so life's changing. But I mean, like we do things in our career. We want to grow, we want to succeed, but don't forget to succeed in life. You know what I'm saying? We all have a purpose, whatever that may be, and just enjoy it, man. So I'm happy I'm joining like this new phase, family. I'm still training like, what I'm saying? I'm not missing anything like that. I actually get to play basketball more than what I was before. But
Hmm.
yeah, man. I mean, that's my journey. That's where I'm at right now. That's what I got going on.
Whew. All right, so just to help me paint this picture, give me the
Yep.
time frame around when you were at Marquette, because it's a follow up that I might want to have behind that. So, what
Okay.
was the time frame you were at Marquette?
Ooh, okay. So I'm going back into the archives. Let me see if I get the years right. I want to say it was 2014, 2015, Marquette. Um, Head coach there was Woj. Well, I can't even say his last name all the way, but he's previously,
Yeah, he was with Duke, right?
yes, he was with Duke, but
Okay,
Coach
yeah,
Woj,
yeah.
people know Woj. Forgive me, I can barely say Coach Krzyzewski, so so all my Blue Devil fans out there, bear with me. But yeah, he was there at the time. Um, the head strength coach there was Todd Smith, which is a cool dynamic because he was the head strength coach for men's basketball. His wife actually also worked there. She was the strength coach for women's basketball, some other sports
Mhm.
too. But it was cool to see that dynamic because they both were hard asses. Not that that's a bad thing. Like I personally respond to that well. Like, yo, just be blunt, be straightforward. It's cool. But so it was cool to see that dynamic. But the whole staff there, like they really worked together and like they gelled well. But that was my time at Marquette.
Mm, okay,
Wow,
because
what was
I'm a
your
big
question?
because I'm a big D Wade fan, so
Okay.
I was like, oh, okay, Then Jimmy Butler went there too, and I think
Mm-hmm.
Jay Crowder. I think Jay Crowder went
Yep.
there too.
Jay
So
Crowder
I
went
was
there
like
too.
trying to piece it together. What time frame were you there? So you ain't
So
see D Wade, but
no, none of those dudes were there. I'm trying to think who was there at the time as far as players that at least to be known right now. Honestly, not many at the time. With D Wade and Jimmy Butler. So one thing about Marquette, it is downtown. It's close to the Milwaukee Bucks arena. So when guys would come in, like the NBA teams would come in on the road, a lot of times they would come to Marquette and train. So
mm,
you'll see a Jimmy Butler come through. You'll see a Dwayne Wade come through. Like obviously, they visit their old stomping grounds. They come work out there. I believe Dwayne Wade actually donated money there. Jimmy Butler probably did too. So I don't want to like discredit that. But like guys come back and donate, to help the program, things like that. But so you'll see those pro guys come through. That's an opportunity to meet the other NBA strength coaches. Again, when I was interning at the time, you talk about networking, and then you
yeah.
never know who you'll meet. You'll never know like how that goes down. So network, introduce yourself, put your face out there. It's okay if you embarrass yourself. I mean, at the end of the day, people might remember you. They might not, for good or bad. But hey, if your name rings a bell, most of the time that's probably could be a good thing. So yeah,
Mm.
man.
So from there, Cali,
Mm-hmm.
right? Stanford first.
Yeah.
So I'm a big Corey Schlesinger fan. Like lately, I've been like binge listening to every podcast he's been on, just really trying to. Like I told you, I'm working on something, so I'm trying to. He's one of the guys that I'm kind of stealing from, and sampling to be like, okay, let me get the philosophy down and understanding certain stuff. So Corey is one of the few guys when it comes to strength and conditioning. He's one of the few guys that I strategically follow and look up to. Um, so give me something that you learned from him specifically, because like you said, his philosophy and stuff is so almost abnormal when it comes to basketball, and it's so left field, and it kind of shocks people, especially if you're not open minded or if you're not used to the mindset of strength and conditioning. So give me something that you learned from Corey. Yo, I really appreciate you taking the time out to listen to this episode and my interview that I had with Josh Washington from Performance Hoops. But we had to cut it into two parts. So this is only part one. Stay tuned next week for part 2. But in the meantime, in between time, make sure that you are subscribed to all my YouTube watchers. Make sure you subscribe. Hit the subscribe button and follow along for all the other episodes coming out. If you are on Spotify, Apple Music, and pretty much anywhere else that you're getting your podcast on for my listeners, go ahead and follow, subscribe, give me a nice little 5-star review, and we will see you guys next week as well. So that's it. Appreciate you guys for listening again. Have a good one. Be safe. See you.